2 weeks. I think we've been talking about doing this, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think that I just want to tell a quick story before we get into it. When I first saw this film, it was one of the few things that I've seen done in Gen AI that gave me that that visceral sort of emotional response where I literally was like kind of choking back some tears. I was like, I can't cry in a theater full of people. But that it was so powerful that I really felt, I think a lot of us really felt that this film deserves to be seen by as many people as possible, and that it really is a special film. So congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
I don't know if you want to say anything before we get going.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And it's inspired. We'll talk about it, I guess, after the film. It's inspired by a personal story, so I had that connection to it. And it was a lot of work to do, but grateful I got it in 2 hours before the deadline. So yeah, it was hard work, but I'm glad the way it came out, and I'm just very excited to for everybody to see it and to premiere this thing online, and then we can have a nice discussion about storytelling and AI afterwards.
Yeah, and also just so everybody knows, we also have a really incredible behind the scenes sort of making of that that Meta was able to put together. That I think is just, it blew my mind, and I think there's so many great things about this film and about how it was made that I really want to get into all that kind of stuff as we are after we see the film. Just wanted to see, we got a bunch of people in the audience, and I want to give some shout outs. Hey everybody, anybody have anything cool to add before we show this thing? I see some people. We got all kinds of people from around the world. California,
a lot of familiar faces. Thanks for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And what we really want to do is, once we show the film, we're going to talk a little bit about it, talk about the process, show the behind the scenes, and then we'd love to take some questions from the audience and kind of just chat about the process. This is really I think a special film that really deserves a conversation after a bit, and not only just like what tools you use, but in terms of just storytelling in general. So anything else I should add before we show it?
Act 1, baby. Carlos said Act 1, baby. This was done before Act 1. We're going to talk about Act 1, Carlos. Don't worry.
All I got to say is that I finally got to try to use it this morning, and it said face undetected, and it was really bummer. I'm like, you
have one of those faces, Jason. It's just
no, it wasn't me. It was like a character I created, but it was like a claymation character, but it's face not detected. I was like so bummed.
Yeah.
All right, here we go, guys. We're gonna show you the worldwide, global, online premiere of this incredible film. So hope you guys like it.
Where am I?
Welcome, Judy.
Who are you?
We haven't much time. Allow me to order your first course. Bon appetit.
Wait. That's me. Frank. What's happening? No, wait.
How did you like the starter?
What happened? I wasn't finished.
It's time for the next course.
South Vietnamese government agreement economically, independence, viability, and also...
Georgie, Jack, my boys. They're so young.
Did you enjoy the main course?
Yes. It was very filling.
There's one course left.
Why can't I see your face?
You can. You just don't remember it.
Wait. Something's not right. Something's wrong. No. I don't want to see this. Stop it. Why would you give this to me?
I'm so sorry. Perhaps you'll enjoy the coffee.
I'd rather have a martini.
It's funny. You say that every time you come here.
Frank?
Hello, Judy.
Oh, Frank, it's been so long. Sometimes I can't remember your face.
You still wear the ring.
Yes, every day. No, Frank, I don't want to go back out into the fog.
Listen, Judy, the fog will lift eventually. And when it does, I'll be there. Do you remember our song?
Oh, yes.
Under the moonlight, bright.
Sunnydale Assisted Living, can I help you?
Every smile, every tear, only love, no fear.
Yay! That's a bummer about online premieres. You can't really hear the audience. So. Wow. But amazing. I would love to be. So I want to get into the behind the scenes. But definitely would love to see if there's anything that the audience would like to say. I think I'm putting some of the comments on the screen.
Yeah, wow. Thanks so much, guys. Just so everybody knows, it's going to be on the 4K version will be on YouTube and all of my socials and Secret Level, I think, as well.
It says LinkedIn user, but I mean, I'm glad that you had the same reaction I did. It was one of those incredible experiences that you have, when you watch a film. And I think one thing that I felt really, I thought that there was this moment where you stop paying attention to that sort of the technique or the imperfections of AI or whatever, and you really get lost in the story. And that to me is, that's where this medium that we're working in with this technology, you know, we could do anything with it, but at the same time, we could do anything with it, you know. So really focusing on story
Yeah.
is and for all the new people that are tuning in, we'll show it again a little bit later in the broadcast, but for now, I really did. I mean, there's a lot of great comments coming in, and you know, I think that it would be nice. What do you think we show the behind the scenes, and then
Yeah, I
Melissa?
think yeah, again, thank you for the comments, and we'll show this a little behind the scenes. It's just like 2 minutes long, and then if you guys have any questions, I saw some about the lip sync, things like that. So it goes over that a little bit, and then I'm happy to just talk about that stuff more in depth as well.
Okay, great. Let's watch the behind the scenes. I think this is a really fascinating look at how MetaPuppet was able to do this in 3 weeks, under 3 weeks. I mean, it's pretty incredible. So let's take a look at this, and then we'll talk about it after.
Cool. After being selected to participate in the Culver Cup competition, we were given a creative treatment by David Slade and had 3 weeks to go from idea to finished film. The creative treatment consisted of 3 rules. It had to take place in a diner, something had to spill, and someone had to pay. It's my belief that AI film won't go mainstream until we have expressive characters doing emotional dialogue scenes. So I challenged myself with this project to create the best emotional dialogue that I've ever seen in AI film. So after writing the script, I started to get my character Judy. Now there was one shot where she pops up out of the sand and looks around, and that was Judy. I took different screenshots of her from different angles, up-res them, and used them to train a Flux LoRa of Judy on FAL.ai. I did that for each of my main characters. Once I had the characters, I started creating my scenes. We were provided with a 3D asset of a diner made by Global Objects and used Playbook 3D to storyboard the piece. It was my first time using 3D with generative AI, and it was a lot of fun moving the camera around and blocking shots and then using text prompts to wrap those shots with Gen AI right inside the tool. I then used Photoshop and FreePic to do a lot of inpainting on the shots. After that, it was hours and hours of generating motion using Kling, Runway, and Luma. At the same time, I had to perform the dialogue parts. I recorded take after take of each line and used 11 Labs speech-to-speech tool to transfer the style of my voice into the characters.
Who are you?
Who are you?
After that came the lip sync. In the second week of making this, a new tool called LipDub AI came out. As soon as I saw it, I messaged the company, and within hours, I was on the phone with one of their team members. I told him what I was doing, and he gave me access to demo it. At the same time, Kling came out with their lip sync tool. What ended up on screen is a combination of the two, plus some editing tricks to make the visuals really smooth and natural. I then created the music on Suno and Udio, and also did all of the sound design using 11 Labs as well as some traditional sound libraries. Then it was days and days of traditional editing. The story was inspired by my grandmother, who passed away last year with dementia, and my father was gracious enough to give me a bunch of old family photos, which I used for the scene where Judy's memories come rushing back to her. This shot shows a photo of my father and his younger brother on the left, and on the right is a photo of my grandfather proposing to Judy. It was very special to make this a personal piece. It took all 3 weeks to make, and I finished the film 2 hours before the deadline.
Such a great, just a great behind the scenes thing. I'm pretty sure everyone who is is watching and listening right now is definitely impressed by it. Just the amount of work that went into making this.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything else to just the making of the?
For sure. Just if anybody was looking at some of the stuff like with the 3D assets and just thought that it was I don't know, just way over your head, just know that I've never used 3D before with generative AI, so that was a first for me. And Playbook 3D kind of like, I see where this is going, where they're merging 3D and AI, and they're really bringing down that technological barrier because it was not difficult to use. And it was really great for storyboarding. So I used it for that, and used a lot of Flux for the images. And that lip sync tool, LipDub AI, like, don't get me wrong, it's not just out of the box, it just like gives you perfect stuff every time. It actually takes a few hours to train the model in each character. You have to upload a lot of videos. Some shots work, some don't, so it's still all this technology is still growing up, and there's a lot of traditional kind of editing things to make this work. It doesn't just happen right out of the box.
That is a really good point that I constantly have to make to people, which is it's not pressing a button. There
Yeah.
is still so many hours that go into creating these things, especially something as beautifully told as this story. I think that's we are definitely at an infancy in terms of all these tools don't work great right out of the box. So you have to like really
Mhm.
kind of make them. I always tell people, we have to break the tools to our to our will, like we have to force them to do the things that we want them to do. And it's really not one tool, it's not any one tool that does it all. It's a lot of these things together.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I loved about this is, and one thing you could really feel that I don't think a lot of people understand is that the performances are really you,
Mhm.
like that was all you giving those performances, even though it was an AI voice, it's your
Mhm.
performance, and you could feel that in the video. And I think that's what's so,
I think,
yeah,
yeah, that's huge to me. Is like, first of all, it's a lot of fun to act out the parts yourself, but really that human touch, that you can bring into it, um, acting out the parts. 11 Labs is like integral. Their speech to speech tool. I use it in everything. So that's a lot of fun. And then, like, Carlos with the comment about Act One. I haven't had a chance to use that yet, but I think that's really cool. It's not like, one tool is better than the other. There's so many use cases that not even the creators of these tools thought of. And so when it comes out to the community, people like us, we can do this really cool stuff. And a lot of it is kit bashing. But I would love to, especially for animation, I think that's really something I'd like to try, with Act One. Just acting out the parts is just a lot of fun. So it depends on the workflow. It depends on the style that you're looking to get with, the film that you want. I like the more photorealistic style, and in this piece too, I wanted to do a drama, and I wanted to do. I challenged myself to really do the best kind of like dialogue scene that I could, because I think that's the thing that's really going to convince more mainstream people that this is the future of a
yeah,
filmmaking tool. So yeah.
100%. And I think two things that you touched on, I think are really interesting. First of all, 3D.
Mm.
I remember sitting in I can't mention the brand, but one of the biggest tech brands in the world, and they were showing us, their AI tools, and they said, well, what's the number one thing you would want to request out of an AI tool? And I said, I want to be able to move a camera around in a scene. I want to be able to block a scene and really say, I want the camera behind this person's shoulder, and I want a wide shot, and I want this, anybody who comes from live action, you're an editor.
Mm.
I'm, have just shot a lot of live action edit. You constantly need coverage of a
Oh yeah.
scene. So the fact that you were able to work within 3D space, that's huge. I think that there are so many ways of being able to transfer these ideas that we have in these stories we have once we are able to visualize like an entire scene like this. And that's what I thought was one of the most stunning things about it, is that you really got a feel of the diner, you got a feel of the location.
Yeah, when we started, we only had 3 weeks, and when I thought about 3D and assets, things like that, I thought there was no way I was gonna be able to do this, because I just don't know. I don't have experience in it. I haven't played with it really. Nothing, we didn't build anything. The diner asset was provided by Global Objects, by that company. But to be able to move around in it, to your point, for blocking, where to place the camera, you know, uh, not I mean, I used it for storyboarding, and then a lot of the stuff, all of this stuff obviously is text to image, image to video. And I really love Flux, Free Pick, and Magnific for those images like Mystic, they're just like amazing. And I think they're the highest quality images out there. But find some final images that did make it into the final piece, the jukebox and the bar top scene where she's looking around, where she says, "Where am I?" That was from within Playbook 3D, and that was just moving the camera right up to the bar
Mm.
and describing what I wanted to see as far as, a napkin dispenser, ketchup, mustard, whatever, describing that scene. And then right within there, they have Stable Diffusion and Flux, and I was able to select Flux and came up with this beautiful image. And starting with that, the highest quality initial image, once you run it through these motion tools, that's where you really need to have the best quality. And I was blown away by some of those shots.
That's
So
great.
yeah, I see those two worlds being used obviously in a lot of films coming up.
So we have a question I'll put up on screen if you want to answer that.
Oh yeah, so I have to say Kling version 1.5 I think has the highest fidelity. Also, I noticed I'm dealing with a character, an old woman who has a lot of wrinkles and lines in her face, and I think that actually really helped in terms of the realism when it came to the lip sync.
Mm.
So basically, and I see another question using Midjourney to generate the visuals. I generated most of the visuals on FAL.ai with Flux and also with FreePick, and they're Flux visuals. And Kling did, I think, all of the dialogue scenes, those close-up shots, because it gave the best fidelity. And really how it adheres to your text prompt when I'm, with emotion, it's just gotten so good at, and it's going to get even better. But saying this woman, she's laughing but crying, like
Yeah.
something like that, and it got it. It's not the first time, but it got it. And then from there, taking it and adding it with 11 Labs with the dialogue part, putting it together in Kling and LipDub AI, editing it in a certain way, came out to be very realistic. So I was really, really happy with the results of that.
I mean, and the thing that for me was the thing that blew me away was obviously just how cohesive the whole film was, but just the performances, just like the fact that you felt that this woman didn't, like, you felt what she was feeling in that scene. And I think there was a comment earlier I thought was really interesting, is like AI is the perfect medium for a film about dementia because of the imperfections. And that's one of the things that I thought, as I was watching it, is like, this, maybe her shirt isn't the same every time. Maybe this isn't the same every time, but I feel like it really almost is part of the story, right? Like it's what she's visualizing. And that's why I think with AI, it's interesting. One thing I've always said is, not to use technology for technology's sake, but to use it so in purpose of the story. And so you have a story that really felt like AI was the perfect. Like you could have shot that in live action and done it with visual effects, but somehow it just felt like the right story for AI.
Yeah, I mean, David Slade, who gave the creative treatment. If you guys don't know who he is, he's done a lot of stuff, but I think he's most well known for Black Mirror, Bandersnatch. He gave the creative treatment, and obviously it had to be a diner, but he said a few things in there. He wanted to do things that you can't do or have a very hard time doing with traditional filmmaking. Maybe it would be cost prohibitive or something like that, but with AI, you can do these things. So when I first came up with the idea, I felt like, okay, if I'm going to do a drama, and it's about an old woman with dementia, I mean, that could run the risk of being like a Hallmark movie, and this guy, he's done Black Mirror before. So now I was trying to think to myself, I have to make it edgy in the visuals and surreal. And so I guess I went in with that intention. And to your point about dementia, I saw it with my grandmother last year, where she would have these vivid hallucinations, so I tried to, some were good, some were bad. So I tried to just capture that in the flashback scenes, the good ones. And so to your point, the story, we're dealing with a tool where when I go into writing a story, this isn't something I'm shooting live action. This is
Yeah.
something that I'm using AI for. So best to pull out its strengths.
Yeah, yeah. Anyone in the audience have any questions? We'll take some questions as we chat more about this. And if you're just tuning in now, we are going to replay the film near the end of the broadcast, so you could watch it again. And then I think, like Meta already said, you know, it'll be up on all of his socials, as well as on Secret Levels. And yeah, any questions? We could talk about tools. We could talk about story. Talk about any of that sort of thing. Just let us know if you have any questions. One just came in. I'll put this up.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Well, I do have, I have two in mind, but really, I think it comes down to one of them is animation, because I want to try animation. I've leaned towards the photoreal. So one is animation, and it's a feature, and then the other one actually is another feature, and it's a reimagining of Dante's Inferno. Jason and I have spoke about that. So yeah, those are my next two things. But things pop up all the time. Like this was not something that was planned. I saw the competition and applied and got selected, and this came up out of nowhere. So sometimes you never know where inspiration is going to strike.
Yeah, and on that note, I mean, I think that one of the amazing things that happen during these, when you're forced to just get something done. Like I've been working on a black and white, old noir trailer for a long time, and there's just been always something I'm like, oh, I couldn't get this right, and I just never ever finish it. There's something so great about having a timeline and having this pressure where you just have to get it done.
Man, I got sick immediately after this contest. Because I was like stressed about hitting the timeline, and yeah, I got sick the next day, and I was out for a while. But the other thing, about your film, like about not finishing something in time, though, is all of a sudden a new tool will come out that you didn't have when you started the project, and it either you're like, well, now I have to do it over again with this tool because this is exactly what I need, or it changes the style of where you're going, and you're like, well, this is better. So,
on that note, we have a special guest that just joined us, and I will add him to our broadcast. What's up,
Todd?
Hey guys,
how you doing?
We were just good, man. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. We were just discussing the having a deadline and how important that is to finishing our creative projects. Do you want to talk about who you are, your background, your company?
Sure. So yeah, Todd Taraz is here, a local Angelino. Went to film school at USC, worked in production for a few years, but then got into the startup world. And so it was early in AI, attempting to build a 911 operator back in 2015 with IBM Watson. We were just too early. The technology really wasn't there. Started building chatbots. And then when we were building these decision tree chatbots, decided to build a meetup group around it. And then again, because we were too early, decided to turn that meetup group into this community AILA that I've been running basically for 8 years now. That's like 20,000 people and helping educate people on AI. And it's been fun, being early and then now being back in this new wave where, the technologies is a lot more there than it was back then. And it's just really seen how artists and everybody, every industry is just being completely transformed on how they can use these technologies to be more efficient and be more collaborative, be more imaginative. And so it's been crazy. And through that whole process of building AILA, I started my new company, Fabric, which is FBRC.ai, where we're envisioning and building this new studio system and working with startups, working with creators, working with studios, production companies to help them with their strategy, helping them with their content development, and seeing where new tools could be developed on that journey.
Awesome. It's so funny. I think we have similar career paths where always being a little bit too early. Anytime you're innovative in the sense of like, what you want to do, but the technology isn't quite there yet is something I just have always been a part of. And if feel like right now, I was trying to explain this to somebody the other day who was not really in the AI community about how fast this industry is moving. Like I said, it used to be every 3 months there'd be a new tool or a new major advancement in it. Then it went down to like 2 months, then 1 month, then every 3 weeks, then every week now we have just, and it's even funny since, Meta, you did this short. I mean, all of these things of performance and lip sync, all the big companies just put this out since you were working on this. A lot of that didn't even exist back then. That's the speed in which we're at right now, and it's both really exciting because now we could visualize anything we have in our heads, but it's also daunting to keep up with the amount of change and everything like that. I'm just curious, MetaPuppet, if you have any thoughts just on the speed in which all of this is moving and how you keep up with everything.
Yeah, I do. I think that the tools themselves are just half the battle. So, as fast, as quickly as the tech changes, it's very hard to keep up with things. However, just because lip sync, for example, that was a sticking point for a long time. It's gotten really good and it's going to get really better, but to still be able to use it to tell a story is a different skill set involved. And so while the tools change quickly, the fundamentals of storytelling do not. So I don't think you need to learn every tool or be a master of every tool. Just, I would really learn storytelling if what you want to do is be an AI filmmaker, or eventually I guess it'll just be a filmmaker. But yeah, the tools themselves, they're going to be changing quickly. And but I also think that it's eventually it's going to slow down when we reach a point. The fidelity has gotten so good, and that will improve. Prompt adherence, lip sync, character consistency. Most people that move into this, they're never going to know those struggles, right? Because we got in early on it, and it's just going to work. But even at that point, you still need to know how to use it to tell a story. And I always say it's like the piano. Everybody knows about the piano. Not everybody is creating masterpieces on it, because it's a whole different thing to be able to write a terrific melody. It's just a tool.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I mean, I guess Todd, you in being one of the people that helped create the Culver Cup, I mean, seeing all the films come in, and especially this one, like, what was your first thoughts when you saw MetaPuppet's film?
Yeah, I mean, out of all the submissions we had, it definitely stood out. It's interesting because it was about dementia, and the character looked very similar to my grandmother. My grandfather passed away from Alzheimer's many years ago, and definitely struck a chord, right? And I feel like that was when I talked to other people on the team that were looking at early looking at the films, and then of course when we were at the Culver Theater, and got to get the audience, a whole room full of people's take on it. It was eerie but comforting at the same time, where it was just like, wow, there's something here. And again, it goes back to the what we've been talking about, what you just were talking about. It's like storytelling at the end of the day is what matters. It's not the tools that you use. No one, at the end of the day, no one cares if AI, or not everybody, but you shouldn't care how it was built. You should care more about what it means and what it made you feel, and did it touch your soul in some meaningful way. And I think that story for sure did that to many people, including myself. But yeah, when looking at all the different shorts, it was remarkable to see how people took the same ingredients, right? We gave you, David Slade's, meat and potatoes of the creative direction about the liminal space, and what you had to kind of think about. Because we didn't want this to be about a music video. We didn't want this to be a trailer. We wanted this to be a beginning, middle, and end, right? A real story. And a bunch of artists really showed us how that is feasible. But also what's really fascinating is that, right, everyone's given the same ingredients, and everyone creates totally drastic. Everything was totally different, right? Every single project was completely different. There was no copycats, because I feel like there's enough flexibility. And again, everyone utilizes their own imagination to be able to come up with something very novel.
That's a great point. And I think that just, hits the nail on the head about how we all had the same tools, but it's not the tool that's telling the story, it's the
Yeah.
human behind it, you know?
Agreed. I have a daughter, to date myself, I have a daughter who's just going to college now, and she chose 3D animation. And I was like, oh, hopefully that's going to be the same when you're out. But that's the same advice that I keep giving her, which is like, learn technique, but really, really, really learn storytelling. You know, think about, like, really learn the art and the craft of how to tell a good story. What makes a good story? What are those ingredients that, because that, like you said earlier, the storytelling is timeless. Like, we've been telling stories since cave paintings and all that kind of stuff. The thing that you'll always see is that a great story rises above and beyond the medium that it's told in. You know, it really is at the core, at the heart, storytelling. And so, you know, just being in the business that we're in right now, and you know, at Secret Level, we just see so many reels, so much content. And the one thing I keep seeing a lack of is great storytelling. There's great trailers, there's great images, there's all that sort of stuff, but telling great stories, I think, is at the core, at the heart of how this specific, you know, genre, this medium, is going to evolve. Like, once we see really incredible stories like this one, which is why I'm really excited as the tools mature and it becomes less of a massive pain in the ass to create character talking or a camera move or this or that. You know, hopefully we are going to see just these incredible stories that, you know, didn't have a place to be told, you know, previously, or there was no outlet for those people to tell those stories. We're going to see all these incredible stories. Somebody the other day likened it to when VHS, you know, you were able to buy VHS and that whole market was created. And then all of these, they just needed content, right? At all these video stores. So people were rushing and making all these independent movies. And then we saw this huge amount of new voices come into filmmaking because of this need for content within the VHS world. And things didn't have to be the big, giant, glossy movies that they were for other ones. They just needed the content. So, you know, hopefully we'll see a big influx of great storytellers come out of this.
Yeah, and I also want to say too, to anybody listening, you know, yeah, I went to film school and I've been a full-time editor for, you know, almost 15 years now. And, you know, so if you don't have experience like that, you can just work with somebody who does. You don't have to be like you don't have to be the best at everything. This is still a very collaborative process. So find what you're good at. When I do work with Jason with Secret Level, you know, there's guys on the team that they have their strengths that might be my weakness, and vice versa. So that's why it's a collaboration. And then the end product just comes out better than if one person was doing it alone.
Yeah. I always tell people to read, like, somebody was asking me advice about, and I think we had one here. I said, you know, someone new to the field, you know, different tools and workflows. I mean, I think that part of it, you know, there's a desire to always want to, like, what's the latest tool? I want it to look the best. But I told somebody recently, like, what's the best tool that I could learn in AI? And I said, it's a book called Save the Cat. Read that. That is your best tool currently. Well, there's many books on that, but I just said, you know, learn storytelling, learn screenwriting, learn, like, those are going to be, after all the dust settles, in my opinion, where everyone can make something that looks great. It really will be story that, you know, and then things that we haven't seen before. You know, I see so much in AI that's just like sci-fi that all looks the same, or this or that. Like that's one thing I really loved about what you guys did, Todd, with this, is that just the guardrails were actually really good to keep people, you know, grounded. You know, some people did go to outer space, but at least, you know, there was this grounding of story, and that, I don't know, I felt like that was a really interesting component to the Culver Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like right now we're all learning this new vocabulary, right? Of, you know, how these tools are going to play a role within our creative craft. And we were really, you know, fortunate that we were able to do something that most people have never really done before, right? Working within a 3D space, being able to take, you know, the set, which was the the liminal space that we chose, was American Diner, giving you that set, allowing you to use that. You don't have to use the entire breadth of the short, but use it in some meaningful way. And then be able to work with like Playbook to help out set up your virtual cameras and set up the scenes, and a lot of people just kind of run with it. And what was really interesting is that how, especially because these tools, as you're talking about, the technology is moving so fast. It's like every few seconds, maybe, you see a new, or every day, right? You're seeing a new update on one of these platforms. But like, how are you leaning into where it is today as a feature, not a bug? And so that's why you're seeing more of these sci-fi type renditions, or you're seeing more of the horror, or these things that are more goofy, because the AI is not perfect yet, right? Character consistency is just for sure not there yet. As much as we, pound our head on the wall to try to make it work. But yeah, it was very fascinating to see how everyone came up with their own unique take on what the direction, the guardrails were, and then came out with beautiful stories. And so, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm excited to think about what our next type of competition will be. How we'll push raise the bar again of allowing people to experiment and again do things that haven't really been done before, and giving people a certain limited amount of time to be able to pressure cook the process a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Hey, Lars.
What's up, Lars?
A really good dude, and I think I've actually never read this one, so I'm gonna add this to my my collection in terms of books on writing, which I think everybody should learn. Yeah, I think that there's something really interesting when when we all I don't know what I've done to, I think I broke my Minimax or whatever the official word is, but all I get is the most horrifying renders out of this thing right now. So horror is naturally a place where this I think AI as the machine dreams, it definitely goes in the horror space, which is, I agree, that's where you see a lot of good stuff in there. And I know that's the first thing I saw MetaPuppets that blew me away, his short Mother, where I was just like, that it just was crafted on another level, and the story was interesting, story was good, but horror plays such a great role in AI. I am glad that at least we're seeing some good horror come out of that.
I just want to touch on a couple of these comments with like something that people can like, something actionable, because some of the stuff we're saying might be abstract, about like learning storytelling and whatnot, which I totally agree with. But like a new tool, if you're new to it, I would just say, any of the image generators, learning prompting, or just, prompt for something you want to see and just get a feel for what it gives back to you, is a great place to start. Midjourney is easy to do. Leonardo AI free pick, but just basically just start prompting, and something you can imagine and see what it gives back to you, and doing that over and over, you'll refine it, and you'll understand kind of how it works. And then in terms of the Playbook 3D workflow, I think Playbook 3D is still in beta. Todd, but yeah. So I don't know if they're just, I don't know. You can go to the website and just maybe sign up for an account, but I don't know if it's fully open yet. But the workflow is really cool, because you can import an asset, a 3D asset, into their space, and you can move the camera around. Once you set up the shot that you like, you can, right within the tool, you can select Stable Diffusion or Flux, and you can just write your prompt, and it will wrap it with Gen AI and give you the an image that you're potentially looking for. So that's that combination there with that workflow.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely still in beta. Last night, actually, at the house, we had a group of about 20 artists doing like impromptu presentations about what they've been working on and stuff. And Skylar, who's the CTO of Playbook, was here, and he was just, again, like any young entrepreneur, he's, I think, 2 years into the startup. You're always looking for feedback. Building any of these type of tools, whether it's Playbook or anything else, it's all about putting something out there in the world, seeing how people use it. Sometimes things break, some things are aha moments, but it's all about getting that raw feedback from the artists to really understand, like what should they be focusing on, what things should be fixed, how things should be maybe positioned or worked on differently. And so that's the magic of using these competitions, is that not only is the artist learning how to use these tools in real time, but also the tools themselves are learning from the artist about what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, that's a great point.
100%. 100%. We're going to take a couple more questions, and then we are going to show Mnemonade again for everybody to sort of end our broadcast. Any other questions before we? I know I'm just searching through and looking at all the different, any recommendations on how to become better at film editing, MetaPuppet, which you're very good at.
Well, recommendations on it. Man, I don't know. That's tough. I went to film school, a long time ago, and I learned so much stuff on YouTube these days. So I would just, start looking at basic editing courses on YouTube. I'm sure there's a lot of free ones out there if you're just starting out. But definitely editing, for telling a story with pacing, things like that. Editing is just huge. That's what it is. So I would, I'd probably, if I was just starting out, I'd probably go to YouTube, and I'd probably just search for basic, introductions to editing.
Cool. I know that, one of the things that, at least in my work, when I'm doing, a short or a trailer, whatever I'm doing, it's always, and I think MetaPuppet, you and I talked about this, just coverage of a scene is so important when you're shooting a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure you have the wide shot, making sure you have the close-ups, making sure you have all those details that when you are editing, you're and it's funny with AI, sometimes I find myself not having all the coverage, starting an edit and going, oh God, I need this shot. And then you have to go back and do it, which is it's kind of one of the great things about AI, where it's like traditionally on set, I'd have to have all my shot lists, everything done. There's very little room for improvisation, when you're shooting on a very expensive shoot day. So it was like really planning all that up front. So it's almost this sort of chicken and the egg, right? Like if you really plan up front and you know exactly your story and you are planning coverage, that's so important. But also on the flip side, I can't tell you, and it's really hard right now to get coverage in AI, just like we were talking about, like turning the camera around, looking at this. Yeah. I want a wide shot. I want a close up of the feet on the same ground that, that was in the wide shot. Like all these things are very difficult, but I don't know. For me, coverage is like one of the biggest things where you really just having those choices in the edit is so important.
And there's little tricks which you just learn by doing it. If you take that initial image of the wide shot you like and you need a close up of the hands or something like that, I'll do a screen grab of the hands and then I'll up-res it, and then, or you can even put that back into a prompt generator that will describe it for you, what you're looking at already. And there's all these different, there's so many different tools available, which is a great thing. But there's little tricks, and honestly, I think that's just doing it over and over and over again.
Yeah. It's so funny. I always find myself doing that same thing where you're like, I need that close up, but I don't know how to get it. So I'm going to, one thing we were working on, the Black Eyed Peas trailer, and we were trying to find different angles of a spaceship, a very specific spaceship, running it. Basically your process you described, running it through a cling and saying, the spaceship turns around in 360 degrees, getting different angles, capturing those, up-resing those, now running it. It's like, it's really interesting, all the techniques that we have to do that, sometimes I kick myself when we're working on some very complex AI projects. I'm like, man, this would have been 1,000 times easier just to shoot this, because it's so much work that goes into like trying to trick the machine to do the things that we need it to do.
The shot in Mnemonade where the boy falls down, Frank as a kid falls down, that took an entire day just to get, because I had, trained a Laura on his face, and he was face down, but it kept putting the face on the back of his head, and his body was down, but his head was up. It was, some creepy stuff was going on. So,
isn't everybody's face on the back of their head? It totally makes sense. That's AI just doing the math. Awesome. Anything else before we show Mnemonade and then the stream ends? You guys want to say anything else before we go?
I just want to say thank you for hosting this. Thanks to everybody that came. And I'm going to have the 4K version up on YouTube. So check that out on my socials. And Todd, thank you for, we got to meet in person during the contest when I came out there, which was awesome. And just grateful. Thanks for putting on the Culver Cup.
You're welcome. Yeah, thanks for hosting this, and I'm excited that the world now gets to see your short film, and hopefully we get a lot more. We can't wait to work together next time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. We do these every couple weeks when we have the time, and if you guys have any ideas for any future episodes, this and that, feel free to let us know. Once again, we're going to show Mnemonade one more time, and then it'll be up on all the socials. Thanks for tuning in.
Where am I?
Welcome, Judy.
Who are you?
We haven't much time. Allow me to order your first course. Bon appetit.
Wait. That's me. Frank. Wait, what's happening? No, wait.
How did you like the starter?
What happened? I wasn't finished.
It's time for the next course.
South Vietnamese government is moving economically, independence, viability, and also...
Georgie, Jack, my boys. They're so young.
Did you enjoy the main course?
Yes. It was very filling.
There's one course left.
Why can't I see your face?
You can. You just don't remember it.
Wait. Something's not right. Something's wrong. No. I don't want to see this. Stop it. Why would you give this to me?
I'm so sorry. Perhaps you'll enjoy the coffee.
I'd rather have a martini.
It's funny. You say that every time you come here.
Frank?
Hello, Judy.
Oh, Frank, it's been so long. Sometimes I can't remember your face.
You still wear the ring.
Yes, every day. No, Frank, I don't want to go back out into the fog.
Listen, Judy, the fog will lift eventually. And when it does, I'll be there. Do you remember our song?
Oh, yes.
So tight, under the moonlight, bright.
Sunnydale Assisted Living can help you.
Every smile, every tear, only love knows